Alright, welcome back to Three Swords Gaming this evening. Appreciate you watching, appreciate you taking time. We are going to continue playing through Arknights Endfield, and where we left off is Qingbo Stockade is in a bit of trouble, right? And we cannot find Soup, Tangtang, right? So we need to find Tangtang, and we need to get to the bottom of whatever's going on in Qingbo Stockade, which appears to involve land breakers, but not the way they hit Valley 4. They are doing something different here in Qingbo Stockade than they are doing in Valley 4. And it appears to be kind of tearing the stockade apart, maybe. But we're going to have to find Tangtang. That is the...
I got more stockade prisoners here.
Oh.
I have to free my fam. You go on ahead. I'll see you soon.
Okay, Waterbell. We'll catch up with you. So, of course, Waterbell, if you'll recall, is looking for, what's the name? Ronwee? Something like that. And we are looking for Tangtang, being, you know, their brother and sister. Oh, I must have already taken that water. So, let's... Ooh, how much water do I have? Did I drop a bunch from my inventory? I got 100. I just got, like, rando stuff in my inventory, too. Okay, so let's pick up and continue cruising along through the story here, trying to find Soup. Which I don't think we're too far from her now. I had to stop the story in kind of a weird spot, because I just didn't want the video getting like crazy long, and this story really like just keeps trucking along.
It's hard to shear.
Okay, so that was almost like inaudible to us, but it was Ardashir telling someone she's safer here.
Look, it's Ardashir and Ron E.
Her safety is the only thing I care about.
But your choice has already disappointed her. Do not wallow in hatred. You and your people deserve to be part of a truly grand enterprise. Hatred never builds anything great. Go forth to the ancestral spring. You have yet to master the new powers.
They're leaving.
Thanks, Chen.
Save Tangtang first.
Will do, Mifu. Alright, so I do gotta say, I find, Chen, you gotta wait for the door to open, sweetheart. That's not gonna work. I do find, and I don't think this door opens at all. Yeah, it doesn't. Ardashir's dialogue to be kind of interesting, because what he's saying appears to maybe be contradicting like what he's actually trying to achieve, where he's trying to walk Ronyi away from hate, but Ronyi appears to be motivated primarily by his hate, and we'll get into more of that later, but
Engaging.
it appears to be a little bit contradictory. Alright, so while we're engaged in combat here, I would note, I long ago came to the realization that having Ember on the team is, like, not necessarily optimal.
Good work, everyone.
I just
Verify
haven't
and report
removed her
personal
from the team
status
yet.
team.
And, like, I kind of like having Enmin, Shen, and Perlick on the team because this account is really primarily dedicated to, like, story playthrough. but maybe I need to swap Ember for Poggers because I do have him on this count. And I had the last week to do it because I wasn't recording and I still didn't do it. So shame on me. Maybe this weekend or something I'll get around to doing something with Poggers and actually make him useful on this team. I think right now he's still actually like level 0 or something. Like, what is he?
Originium will carve a path for us.
Let's go over the battle plan once more, shall we?
Level 6. With a level 9 basic sword. Like, that sword is... it's purple, it's not blue, but still. At some point I probably need to come around and put forth the effort on him. Alright, let's find out what's going on here and get to Tangtang. Oh, can I grab that? I mean, I can once I...
This feels familiar.
There we go. Tangtang.
Mild fever. Nothing life-threatening. She's probably just having a bad dream from all the stress.
I'm going to question Perlica's medical expertise. I don't think bad dreams cause fevers, but we have bigger fish to fry right now.
Don't go!
Tangtang, Father and I will return with food from Wuling. No one will starve anymore.
Let me help too!
Once you are old enough to hold hand cannon steady, I'll let you call the shots. But right now, I need you to look after our homes. We'll be back soon.
Father, please don't die. Please! Those blind intention!
Where are you, big bro? I can see you.
Tangtang, why are you here?
Your eye! Who did this? Does it hurt?
It's not hard anymore. But I'm so sleepy.
It's okay, baby sis. Just sleep. We will be home when you wake up.
Tangtang? Tangtang. Dark mask. It's you. I was dreaming about past again. Wait! Where's my big bro?
Alright, I guess we got a couple options here, both of which, as far as we know, are accurate. We'll go with the more technically accurate response, which is the where is Ancestral Spring. The who is Ardashir, right? So Ancestral Spring.
Big bro's in danger!
Don't be rash. What can you do?
Let go!
Calm down, Kitty. I can help you.
If Big Bro really did something wrong, would I still save him?
So that's really good. That's a really good question. It's a really good response to have Mifu be silent there.
Then let go of me! Dark Mask? You wanna stop me too? I knew you would help me. Come with me. I know how to catch up to them. Here! Build this in a rush, so it's not so stable. Let's go!
Alright, so we're going to have to follow Tangtang. But real quick, well, let's see what we got here. Once I avenge my father, I will let her out. So Tangtang believes the Tianxi killed their father due to a tragic misunderstanding, something Ran Yi cannot bring himself to believe. It's worth noting, Ran Yi was there, Tangtang was not, right? Tangtang got there later, and there's a lot to talk about in that cinematic, which I do want to talk about. And here, Tangtang's eye would never have taken that injury. That's one of the things I want to talk about is the injury piece. Ran Yi is motivated by hatred. Ran Yi is also motivated by his love for Tangtang, and those are two things that might actually conflict. So let's talk about the cutscene real quick. One, I want to make like an overall observation that that is really good. And they took a character that, quite frankly, was silly and suddenly added like meaningful substance, and they did it by not being afraid to go down difficult roads. Not only the death of a father and how it affected a son, but an injury to a child. And so I've, like, in previous videos, kind of compared and contrasted, like, ArenaNet and how they handled story in Guild Wars 2.
People say that the essence shall
And I
reveal
don't
itself.
think ArenaNet would be willing to go down that road. I don't think they would be willing to portray it that way, certainly. Budget notwithstanding, because they don't really do cinematics like that. But even so, I don't think they'd be willing to go quite that far. And I think the story is very well served here by going that far. You have the interesting question of the injury to Tangtang's eye. Because if you have Tangtang, which we don't on this account, I do on my main account, she will expose that eye during her ultimate. It is there. It's the source of her ultimate. So the injury did not rob her of the eye. And here they describe it as an injury, but I don't even know like that it's exactly an injury. I don't know what it is because it imbued her eyes with like that one eye with some sort of dark power or something. And certainly there's some room for interpretation there, or some space to kind of try and figure out what that is. But I do love this idea that we have a character that is like silly and fun and kind of goofy, but now we also have a character that is
Gotta ride a water wheel. Just hop on.
This
Okay.
looks really awesome from up close.
It does, actually. This is really awesome,
Wait.
actually, in
did I
terms of
get some
design.
kind of promise?
You finally remembered.
I'm sorry, Dark Mask. I was gonna get it on, but this in a stockade just blew up in my face.
5 minutes ago, you were talking in your sleep, and now you are bouncing around.
I never talk in my sleep, man, woman, and I never ask for your help. Shoo. Back on topic. Those weirdos who use me to threaten my big bro. Despicable. Disgusting.
Neferth is giving Stockade residents the power to oppose and fight Wu Ling. This is exactly what she did to the Bone Crushers. The Stockaders are already desperate to act, and she's just handed them a knife.
Big bro, please don't do anything stupid.
So they took this character and made her so much more. And they did it in a relatively simple way, quite frankly. It's not really all that complex at the end of the day, but it's done well. I think it's done effectively, and I really appreciate that. This story, and particularly, can we make it? This part of the story really Oh, I love this. I love this. They made this entire surface something that we can move on. That is extraordinary, in my opinion. And even had the foresight to like create little hole there if we mess this up and have to go through there to the next portion. So good in terms of game design. But coming back to the narrative, my appreciation for Tangtang as a character was shockingly higher after 1.1. Whereas I thought she was kind of cute and fun after 1.0, I really like her as a character by the end of 1.1. To where I really enjoy running her as my main character on my main account. I still enjoy running Enman as a main character as well, but I, much of the time, not just because she's adorable and wears booty shorts, but also Tangtang is a very likable character, and I like running with her. And that was achieved through the story, which is, I think, notable.
Verify and report personal status, team.
They are going to give us quite a bit more on this conflict. Not just a conflict in general, but that specific event that happened between Wuling and Qingbo Stockade. We get quite a bit more on that. And I think at this point in the story, we still need more on that. We need more context on what happened there. We're not necessarily going to get a full, like,
High threat hostile. Approach with
historical description. Oh, this is actually a high threat hostile. But we will get more perspectives on it, at least.
A raker beast?
There's no other way through here. Let's get rid of it.
It looks really angry. Wait, could this be the pet that escaped?
Much appreciated. A definitive outcome achieved through strong teamwork.
Alright, well, we
Handled that
actually
fight well.
handled that surprisingly quickly. I thought that was going to be worse than it was.
Tangtang? I heard that some Qianshu killed Rani's father. And Qingbo Stockade was also affected by the Rift event 10 years ago. This is why they...
That's just Asian history that doesn't matter anymore. Everyone had it really tough back then, even drawing the lightning rod. I don't like Wuling, and I got a list of serious grudges to settle with them. But not today, and definitely not in such a manner.
Thanks for that.
Shut up, madwoman! It's none of your business.
So I like that right there as well. Let's get a little more perspective on where Tangtang is at on all this, and then also where Tangtang's at on Mifu. And I think we're going to get, I'm speculating here, but probably in 1.2 we're going to get a lot more on the relationship between Tangtang and Mifu, both as it currently stands, but also how did it get to this point, which, yes, at times during the story, particularly was it 1.0 or yeah, it was still 1.0, where it was a bit silly, where it was almost like a game, but then also there is a degree of animosity there. It may not be as thick as they would have us believe, but there is some degree of animosity, and how did it get to that point? What led Mifu to leave? Qingbo Stockade, and I assume that's where a lot of Tangtang's frustration or animosity comes from.
Let me see how good this one is.
So there's not only have they given us a much more serious and emotionally impactful story in 1.1, but also they've set the table for more of the same in 1.2, which I appreciate.
All variables within estimates.
In position.
Here's our chance.
We are united as one.
Here's our chance.
I can't see when I'm backed into a corner.
Ready to strike. Take your end. Ready. Forward. Descend.
What are you doing back here, buddy?
Good work, everyone.
Almost there. That's where they went.
It's very difficult for me to walk past these boxes without destroying them. Not just because the stuff that they drop can actually be useful, though I think it can. It does add up over time. And some of it will align with like what you're selling. Like for example, those Wuling batteries that just dropped.
It's just ahead.
That directly represents the stock bills, right? But also, there's something very satisfying about breaking the boxes.
You can still turn back.
There's no turning back. Time to go.
Endman, are you all right? Are you hurt?
Perlica has a good voice actor. They do a fantastic job in that little cutscene or cinematic or whatever you want to call it. What's the difference? I don't know what the difference is. Let's call that a cinematic. They do a very good job of communicating through Tangtang what her expectations were, and the fact that that was not it. She genuinely thought there was space for her to talk to her brother, and the incredible sense of betrayal that she feels when there isn't. And in fact, when he's willing to use force to prevent that from happening. I also find it really, really interesting here for the second time in the last like 15 minutes, or even less, last 10 minutes. Ardashir, his approach to the plan is not what we think it is. There's a lot to Ardashir that we don't understand yet. Very willingly appears, as far as we can tell, to give Ranyi the chance to change his mind. It was Ranyi who didn't change his mind. Ardashir plain says there is still time to turn back. and it's Ron Yi who says that there's no opportunity to turn back, which probably drastically increases the betrayal that Tangtang feels at that moment.
Ron E. Has he decided to stand with Ardashir?
I think it's actually more complex than that, Shen.
Did he do this for Tangtang? Or has he deceived her as well?
Yeah, so this is kind of the simpleton response. This is slightly more in depth. I mean, in both cases, like, we're stating the obvious, but how can she accept what Ron Yi did, really?
Yeah.
Thanks, Chen.
You can't beat him. He would just kill you even if you catch up to him.
It's none of your business.
And to some degree, that's true, right?
I'll report all this to my boss. She will figure something out.
Shove it, you traitor.
I assume that's a reference to Mifu leaving the stockade, not that her behavior now is that of a traitor, but that she is still viewed as a traitor for once leaving.
Tell that to Ran Yi. He totally fits.
Not wrong.
I'm done bickering with you. I have duties to fulfill.
My bro is the one who needs help. We just gotta rescue him.
So what about your job, Supreme Chief? If you get yourself killed, who the hell's gonna defend the stockade or people like Lang To?
Just stay out of this.
Tangtang,
What?
They're almost like sisters, and I'm wondering if we are going to find that they grew up together. That is my, that's my pet theory.
if you really want to go, just run if things get out of hand. You are good at that, right?
So and to expand on what I just said, I mean sisters, like, genuinely, they grew up in the same household, or like cousins, like, very, very close. Like, they have a familial type relationship. Not just they both grew up in Qingbo Stockade at the same time, knowing each other in some, relatively platonic fashion, but that they have a familial tie of some sort. I want to address this, right? You're good at that, right? I don't perceive that, based on the interaction as a whole, that this is a swipe at Tangtang, whereas her saying that Ran Yi was a traitor is definitely a swipe at Ran Yi. There's no question about that. This, I think, is actually maybe a little bit of like a tiny miss at localization. More that she's saying that Tangtang is, her strength is being quick and agile and spry. Not that you're good at running when things get hard. I don't actually perceive that as what Mifu is saying here. But I could be wrong. I may be misinterpreting that based on, not fully appreciating, like, what's going on here. All right, Mifu, what is going on here?
You came at the right time.
Are you heading back to do Mifu things?
You can say that. I reported everything about the current situation to my boss. We must assume the worst. Wulin City will declare a state of readiness. But
You're worried about Tangtang, right?
that's right. The boss let me tag along with you because she wanted me to keep a lid on the pot. But the entire thing is boiling over. I must fulfill my duty as the watchguard. But you are different, Dark Mask.
These two options are really interesting, right? Because they're actually drastically different. And this is interesting. Like when you give dialogue options that are different, then there's a trick there, right? Because either you have to write and record with voice actors different dialogue in response, or you have to give two somewhat, or in this case, like pretty different responses, because these are, while similar, also very different because their focus is very different, right? One is about Tangtang, one's about the stockade, and they may or may not align right now. And yet, in this case, probably Mifu's response could be the same regardless of which one we pick. But it gives the player a real strong sense of agency in terms of what their motivations are right now. Me, as Endman here, is my motivation Tangtang, or is my motivation Qingbo Stockade? And I think players probably, a lot of them choose, different options here. Like, I doubt this is a 90%, 10%. This is probably pretty close to 50-50 on what players choose here. And yet, I assume Mifu's response is going to be the same either way. And whereas there have definitely been times in the story where that failed them, here I think it can actually work, and that shows some savvy.
Imagine fighting alongside the Administrator and Dark Mask. Sounds like real fun.
Well, we'll find out soon when I pull for Mifu, I guess. I'm actually thinking about not pulling for Rossi and continuing just to build resources, and maybe pulling for Mifu. But I might pull for her on my main account. I haven't decided yet.
My boss will probably miss her chance to witness the Dark Mask in glorious action.
Well, she'll be alright.
I don't care if you win or lose. Just survive this.
Ooh, that's kind of drastic.
I'll be waiting for you.
And I'll be waiting for you. Alright, let's go talk to Tangtang. She is, after all, kind of the star of the show right now. Tangtang, you okay, kid?
Dark Mask. My bro is being... They must have forced him. We gotta get him out. We must save him.
There's already a little bit of denial here, right? I mean, he attacked us just now, Tangtang. Like, we got knocked off a bridge. And he did that. Like, that wasn't Ardashir.
Dark Mask. Will you still help me?
Of course, yeah.
Ron E definitely has intel we need about Ardashir or Neferith.
So this is interesting to me, and I thought this the first time I played through as well. That Shen's not necessarily wrong, but it's interesting that Shen, like Tangtang, perceives Ron Yi as, like, recoverable. And I don't know that the player, considering what just happened, should feel that way.
Endman, Tangtang is not the type to give up so easily.
Well, that is true.
I shall assist you, Chief.
Do you also think that my bro turned traitor, Dark Mask?
I'm sorry. But I can assure you, no matter what the truth may be, I, Dark Mask of Qingbo Stockade and occupant of the third seat, shall stand with my chief.
I actually love that. I do, because they're... I'll tell you exactly why. Enmin is meeting Tangtang where Tangtang is. Like, certainly by now. And I think Tangtang's behavior indicates this. So I don't think this is something exclusively on the player. I think the characters reflect this as well. Tangtang knows that Enmin is far more significant than she is as, chief of Qingbo Stockade. And yet Enmin continues to almost, in a manner of speaking, go along with the joke, but continue to meet Tangtang where she's at, because, and I think we're meant to perceive this as well, we care about Tangtang, right? Like, we have some affinity towards Tangtang, or we see her as a character that we are sympathetic towards, if not have affection towards. So, and Tangtang's behavior reinforces that as well.
That's all I need. Dark Mask. Follow me. There's another path to the Ancestral Spring.
Alright, let's go. Ancestral Spring. I consistently, throughout 1.1, was so very pleased with the fact that the story felt more significant and had a lot more emotional impact than Tangtang's portion of 1.0, and quite frankly, probably anything in 1.0. Like, they really upped the gravity in 1.1, and I enjoyed it.
Bring it on! You're fighting me!
All variables within estimates.
You're hot! Take your end! Push forward! Yes!
Move of yours was incredible!
Oh, hey, guy.
Can you even fight?
Hey, leave it to me! You're fighting me!
A definitive outcome achieved through strong teamwork.
Nicely done!
We need that oro barrel. Regardless of who we pull for, we're going to need it.
In all of the big three?
We have secret allies throughout the lands. You will see them soon.
Alright, in all of the big three, so, like, spies, remember the three organizations that Endfield met with? The Trade Consortium, HAS, and what was the third one? I don't even remember the third one right now, right? But there were the three big entities that we met with.
This hostile poses a significant threat.
Enemies! Don't let them pass!
Take your end!
Ooh, mistimed that, didn't I?
Right here's our chance! Ready to crystallize! Sequence! In position! Face your...
Why are there so many weapons and explosives here? What's this? A plan?
So there's an interesting thing going on here. We saw the powers wielded by Neferith. Going against her would be suicide. We might as well work with her and take down Wuling City. So, and then this is our chance to settle the blood debt. So,
Looks like Wuling from the layouts and shapes. So that attack was planned in advance.
alright, so what I was saying. So there's an interesting thing where Qingbo is being both encouraged by the idea of revenge and also coerced a little bit. A little bit. I don't think it lets them off the hook, though. They're obviously very into the idea of, you know, vengeance. This is all hitting Tangtang real fast, right?
Time, Chen. Perhaps Ran Yi never gave up vengeance. We'll learn soon enough.
You're not wrong, Perlica. I don't know that that was helpful, but you're not wrong.
Only by walking upon the land can we truly appreciate every breath and pulse of life. And this is what Endfield is fighting for.
Well, I suck. Oh, and now I gotta use more water to raise them again? Unfortunate. Might as well.
This feels familiar.
Get out of the water, Perlica. What are you doing down there?
What is this? Wood. What happened to this place?
So presumably that was Ran Yi, right? Like manifesting this, whereas, you know, just like he did at the bridge. But almost because there's no reason for it to be here and it's unclear what it did or was for. Like, maybe he doesn't fully have control over it, right?
Seems like some kind of power gone rampant. Could this be the new powers that Ardashir mentioned? Wait. Look over there.
Oh no.
Watermill!
It's Waterbill.
Chief, so glad you're alright.
She's grievously wounded. Chen, help me. We must stop her bleeding.
So one might speculate that it was Waterbell encountering Ran Yi that caused his powers to go out of control. Remember, she has significant affection towards him. We don't know whether that's mutual or not, so we don't know how that, you know, powerful emotional exchange of her talking to him might have impacted him and his powers.
Who did this to you? Was it Ardashir? Or was it... my big bro? Don't hate him. He didn't mean to.
So, there's an interesting thing here that I would like to speculate on. If the bridge wasn't the point of no return for Ranier, this would be, right? If he genuinely didn't mean to, if something got out of control and he wounded the one person besides Tangtang who truly cares about him, and in a different way, right? Obviously. That would be the point of no return. When you've the one thing that might still tie you to Qingbo Stockade. Because the two things that tie him to Qingbo Stockade as a collective positive thing is Tangtang and Waterbell. He turned against Tangtang and now has grievously wounded Waterbell. There's nothing left for him, right?
I tried to talk him back so the stockade could return.
Her injuries are too severe. I've done all that I can. Now it's up to her body and will.
Thank you. I need to carry her to somewhere safe. Wait for me.
Tangtang?
Let's go. Now I got a score. Just settle with him. Waterbell. She really likes my big bro. But she never confessed her feelings. She always defended him. But now, he's pushing our stockade to war, hurting those who love him most.
So I really like the I have a score to settle with him line, because that was something that came off as comical earlier when Tangtang would say it. And now it's obviously very, very serious and causes you to look back at the silly interactions with Tangtang.
This is where we trained together when we were kids. I was ruined. Big bro, how did you change into this? Maybe it's Archshear and Neferth who lied to him. But maybe he's the one who lied to me.
Causes the player to go back and reevaluate what they thought they knew about Tangtang. And that's good. Like, that's what we should be doing if we're going to get to know a character in depth, is be forced to better appreciate their depth and not see them as a trope. Because Tangtang was a trope. And now Tangtang is less of a trope. And we want that out of multiple characters, right? We want to get to know them, and getting to know them means being pushed to see them in other ways. We're gonna keep that for right now. So I like all that. Like I cannot say enough, and obviously I've said a lot about how much I like the 1.1 story. Is it perfect? I don't know if it's perfect, but it's good, without a doubt. And I certainly appreciate it. Alrighty, let's keep trucking along. Tangtang, let's keep trucking along. Because, yeah, we got lots of time, and I want to get a little further into the story. For clarity, I'm trying to finish up 1.1 before my daughter's spring break starts because I won't be recording during her spring break.
For as long as I can remember, he loved and cared for everyone in the Stockade family. It wasn't an act. I know it wasn't. I just don't know why he must shred everyone and pursue his plan for revenge. And if he's doing this for vengeance, perhaps I'm responsible as well. Tangtang? I was adopted, but my bro was a real son of my father. Things were really bad at the Qingbo Stockade 10 years ago. People actually died from hunger. My bro and my father risked everything for me and everyone else by raiding a looting supply convoy. A convoy raid is often just a scuffle. But the Tianshi, they were very affected by the disaster in the exclusion zone. It was raining that night, and people could hardly see anything. Father had accidentally got me. That was also when I got hurt in my eye.
How old is Tangtang? Because she appears to be like 4 or 5, and that was 10 years ago. Is Tangtang 15? That just now clicked in my head. Did not click on my first playthrough at all.
It's been so many years, yet I knew nothing about how he felt. My bro never left. That rainy night. Enmin.
Yeah, Chen, there's nothing I can do about something that happened 10 years ago. I appreciate your empathy, but...
Don't worry. I'll handle this. Hey, Supreme Chief. Do you remember this?
This is my Tangtang shirt.
I'm going to exchange it right now for a promise from you. Trust me, because I'll always be on your side. Or should I assume that our chief forgot about the promise she made?
The chief of Qingbo Stockade. I give my word, never break it. But did it really change? Or have they lying to me from the very beginning? What should I do?
I can live with both these. We'll go with protect the people. She is, after all, the Supreme Chief. I actually want to address that real quick. Let's go back to the cutscene where she's wounded in the eye, or the cinematic. She's wounded in the eye, and she finds Ran Yi weeping over the body of their father. Remember what he says? You know, when you're old enough to hold your hand cannons, or whatever they are, when you're old enough to hold those steady, you will call the shots. Well, what does that mean? Like, is he in a position to grant her that? And apparently he did. And remember, when we very first met, like, she's the Supreme Chief, but he was the one who kind of needed to accept us. There's this idea that Ronyi was always the shadow governor of Qingbo Stockade, no matter how much she was the supreme chief. And that is going to be very relevant as we continue to go forward. So let's kind of hang on to that.
I got it.
Dark Mask, as the chief of Qingbo Stockade, I gotta settle this business. Let's go see him.
I mean, it has to be done, right? Time to face Ronyi.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne.
Ardashir was right. You came.
Why is he alone?
This might be an ambush laid by Ardashir and Neferith.
Yorm!
I was hoping you could take Tangtang with you and go somewhere far away. Seems it's already too late for that.
I like that a lot. I like that there was still an aspect of this. He never wanted this, where she was confronting him. Really, he wants better for her than the stockade. He acknowledges what the stockade is. Or rather, he sees it very differently. He acknowledges what the stockade is as a system of poverty, and that her ability to... He wants her to be Mifu. Mifu advanced because she left the stockade. He wants that for Tangtang. Tangtang loves the stockade because for her it's home. He sees the worst in his home. She sees the best in it.
Go somewhere far away? You pushed the femme to war. You let Landbreakers seize our stockade. You betrayed us. Now you act like you still care about me?
Enough! There's still time for you to leave.
Leave? To where? Wuling? Or somewhere I've never heard of? This is my home! You're my only family! Bro, to hell with Wuling, and to hell with Ardashir and Neferth! This is our mess, and it's ours to clean up! You owe your life to them and me!
don't deserve your understanding. But this is my only chance of revenge against Wu Ling. I cannot miss it. Once I master this power... Turn around and leave.
I have to say no this time!
You're not yet ready. You will die here. Abandon your vengeance. Follow me. You have been chosen for a greater enterprise.
Blame yourself for finding the wrong person! Burn the share! I will never give up! Even if I have to risk my life! This is my chance! Wait!
Why make such a stupid mistake? Bro!
It's my final struggle. They must pay.
Cyberknight energy got him pinned!
So, full disclosure, I suck at this fight. And I haven't practiced it very much. I've done it in the story on my main account, and then once more on my main account. And that is the full extent of, you know, my play for this boss. So, if this ends up being ugly, that's because I suck.
did it! Let's see what he's got left. Show over! Leave it to me! Commence L7, annihilation! Cast off as cast! Hey! Yeah! He's out of control! I won't let you hurt anyone anymore! Tangtang! Help me! And he's suffering! Careful! Right now!
Old man's gone. Take it.
So, no revenge?
You are more important, Chief. Tried it out. Use it to defend our stockade. And to protect yourself.
Must not leave, but you must go to Wooling.
What about you?
Support.
How dare he? What made him think he knew what's best for me? How could he just bail out like that? I was scared. Right until the very end. Why? We had just so long ago. I seek revenge when the sun's out.
That is such a good line.
Maybe it's just me, Perlica, but Ron E, I feel like he gave up at the final moment.
I just hope that after today, the Stockaders and Wulingers can put that incident behind them. Tangtang, we should go.
Gonna be alone for a while. We'll wait for you.
Ran Yi's quest for vengeance. The conflicts between Qingbo and Wu Ling. Are they truly just aftershocks of that past disaster?
Endman, are you still thinking about Ran Yi?
Three very different responses here, and since we have a stop here, let's kind of go back a little bit. One, the fight. So, I have seen people. I got so tired of the Guild Wars 2 subreddit that I hadn't been on it for years and years. It's just so toxic. Interestingly, the Enfield subreddit is not nearly that toxic, and there are some complaints because it's Reddit and that's what people do. But it's not nearly as bad as the Guild Wars 2 one, and I enjoy hopping on there from time to time. I have seen some people say, hey, I don't like this fight because when Ran Yi phases, he phases into a stunned state, and you can kind of just beat him down at that point in time. But Chen says, I feel like at the end he just gave up, and I think that's actually meant to reflect that. Now, that does contradict a little bit with the cinematic where they kill him as like a final gasp against like this overwhelming attack or whatever. So there's some room for conversation there. The cinematic, that is awesome. That is and I like it for two reasons. One, the combat portion of the cinematic is super cool. Super cool. And don't let it evade your notice that, remember, Tangtang doesn't have her eye patch at that point. It gets knocked off when Ran Yi attacks her right before that fight. And you see, as she comes up to help Endman, a shimmer in that eye that is normally covered by the eye patch. That is, again, a reference to her ultimate, which involves that eye. And you can see the eye clearly. It's not gone. It's right there. You see it during the cinematic and so forth. But also, awesome about the cinematic is the flashback to when he gives her the gun, and she's under the impression that they're putting the past behind them. And I think, and here we have three options, and I really like this middle one, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that portion of the cinematic shows us another interpretation, or I take it as another interpretation. We don't necessarily have to perceive that Ran Yi betrayed Tangtang, although certainly Tangtang is entitled to view it that way. But maybe Ran Yi just failed to confront and overcome his own feelings of hatred and grief. And I think, for me, that is definitely my interpretation. Again, like, you know, if you play the game, if you're watching the video and you care about the game, like, you're welcome to your own interpretation there. Because I think they do a good job of leaving that open for some interpretation. But for me, that's very much my takeaway. And I think as we continue in 1.1, I think we'll get some more opportunity to perceive some of that. And as he fades away and he says, you know, something along the lines of, I must die, you must live, speaking to Tangtang at that point in time, I think very clearly, we get some recognition that what Tangtang said, help me put him out of his misery, help me end his suffering, something along those lines, was, he's acknowledging that was the only logical end because of his struggle with his hatred and grief. So I love that cinematic for so many reasons. It's like watching a scene out of an anime. And does it lean way into like the sappy emotional aspect? Yes, absolutely it does. But by the way, so does every Hollywood blockbuster. So while I like intelligent storytelling, like there's a place for that. There's room for that. Just as there's room for that in you know, like you want to take it to its logical end state? Schindler's List, when the little girl is walking and her dress is in color and everything else in the entire movie is in black and white, that is sappy, dude. It's also like super emotionally powerful, right? Now, I'm not necessarily comparing Enfield to Schindler's List. They are on two different levels, but let's be clear, like the fundamental mechanisms for applying at human emotion are the same in a video game as they are in a movie, as they are in a book, as they are in an anime, whatever. And they can be effectively utilized across all those mediums using functionally the same levers. And it's not any more cheesy in one medium than it is in another, necessarily. Now, it can be done very badly, but I genuinely don't have a problem with them utilizing it here and pulling those levers. Alright, a poor soul struggling with his hatred.
10 years ago, the disaster coincided with the polar expedition. It was also the time when you last awakened, Endman. I knew very well how difficult things were for the entire civilization band.
I love this, by the way, because it as I'm playing through the first Arknights, it paints such a bleak dystopian world. And while Endfield does as well, because of the nature of the game, the 3D open world anime gacha piece, that bleakness isn't communicated quite as effectively, because it's not communicated quite as effectively artistically. The art in the first Arknights is actually darker. Thematically, I mean. It's actually darker color scheme-wise as well, palette-wise. But it's harder for them in Enfield to communicate how bleak the world is than it is in the first Arknights. And we get some of that here, and Perlica is talking about that. Things were catastrophically bad 10 years ago. And we get some of that when Tangtang's talking about people starving to death. Not people were hungry. People died because there was no food. And so they have to lean this heavily into portraying how bad that time was, because it's hard to do subtly because the art and so forth doesn't, Perlica doesn't look like a bleak little bird girl. So they really need to push it aggressively.
Disaster pushed people to desperation. Plenty of tragedies like Ranyi's were reported throughout the band.
See, and that's what they're doing very effectively here. Everything we just saw, as horrible as it was, is one of many stories.
But Ranyi chose to pursue vengeance, and ended up hurting even more people. I cannot sympathize with his actions. The future we are fighting so hard for must not be built on a never-ending cycle of violence.
So take a moment and contrast, or rather compare, what Perlica says right here with what Ardashir said. Fundamentally the same. I'm really intrigued by what Ardashir is going to be when all is said and done. Ardashir said this too. He's the same as us. Which makes the Neferith thing very interesting. This is very interesting where it's going to go.
Ranyi's fall made things worse for her. And for Qingbo Stockade as well.
It's true.
And we got Neferith and Ardashir to deal with.
I just addressed that, Shen.
What the hell are they trying to achieve?
It's a good question. I wonder what I have a feeling means. Or is this just like a super vague thing for the player to say, I have a feeling, and then the player can insert literally anything there?
I wonder how Tangtang is doing.
Give her some time. She has a lot to deal with right now. Ranyi's passing. The future of Qingbo Stockade. Their relations with Wu Ling. And us.
Enmin, I'm a little worried about her. Maybe we should visit.
So this dialogue is interesting to me, not from a story perspective, but from a functional perspective. I wonder if this is their opportunity to offer the player a break, which is we need to do in this video. This video needs to wrap here pretty soon, but I do want to talk to Tangtang first. I also want to get this thing over here first. So we're going to continue a little bit further.
Upon the land, we truly appreciate every breath and pulse of life.
Yay.
And this is what Enfield is fighting for.
I also want to talk about the terrain here for a minute. So one, really awesome, and I appreciate this. I think it's really cool that they do this. They create like arenas for the boss fights, and we can see that. Can we look at the map? If we look at Valley 4 real quick, like for Power Plateau, right? An arena for the boss fight. No, not that. Origin load spring. Holy crap. Arena for the boss fight, right? Valley Pass. Arena for the boss fight. And they do that here too. And I love this arena because it's so beautiful. There is something that drives me insane. The water wheels are turning the wrong way. I feel like with where they are at in relation to the water flowing down upon them. And here it almost looks like maybe they are turning the right way. When we're down there, it definitely looks like they're turning against the waterfall. Drives me a little bit nuts. However, I think it's an amazing arena for the battle. I love it. I think this game is just spectacular artistically. My daughter plays several games like this. I think it is far better than Genshin artistically. Wuthering Waves is pretty freaking good artistically. So maybe you could say these two are on this, kind of on par. Both like, S tier artistically, but both well ahead of Genshin, in my opinion. Maybe if only because it's super cartoony and it looks like it very much looks like a children's game.
Tangtang? She's not here anymore.
I don't know what to say to you. I thought I was ready, but... Give me a bit more time. I gotta clean up Big Bro's mess. And have my fam back in the stockade. Sorry, Dark Mask. You helped me out so much. But I kept breaking my promise.
Don't push her too hard. We should have faith in her. Yeah, Tangtang won't abandon the stockade. And those who followed Rang-Yi are probably in a total mess right now. Let's leave. We need to report the situation here to Mifu and Tian Shizhuang. And then... Ardashir!
I am here to pay my last respects to a fallen friend.
You did this to him!
You do not believe me. How do you regard me at this moment? Pretentious, cunning, cruel, the malevolent puppeteer behind it all? However you perceive me, I shall accept it all. We are now on opposing sides. Everything I say will be taken as feeble excuses.
There's a lot in this dialogue.
When two factions steeped in hatred can scarcely understand each other, what hope lies between predator and prey? Creator and creation.
That's super interesting, right? In fact, let's stop Ardashir's dialogue for a moment. He didn't come here to attack us. He came here, he says, to pay his regards to a fallen friend and asks how we regard him. Like, everything indicates that that his intentions are not purely malicious. And then this is super interesting. There's two things that are right here on this one screen while we stare at his big old blue starry eyeball. When two factions steeped in hatred can scarcely understand each other, what hope lies between? There's two things. He's talking about two things simultaneously, or rather, the writers who wrote the narrative are. One, this is maybe a reference to Wu Ling and Qingbo, and also between our faction and his. And he's repeatedly talked about the danger of hatred, and now he's doing it again. He's essentially saying our distrust and animosity towards him prevents any opportunity for us to actually understand what he's trying to do. And then we get this: what hope lies between predator and prey, which is one type of relationship, creator and creation, which is a different type of relationship. So it's interesting to draw parallels there. I don't know if it's a localization thing or if that's very deliberate. And creator and creation is very, very interesting. I am not an expert on Arknights lore, but there is a lot in that lore about the concept of creator and creation in terms of when you look at the Doctor and how the Terrans were created and so forth. For this to be said, and so it raises like really, really interesting questions about our relationship with Ardashir. Very possibly not just thematically or faction-wise, but maybe literally Enmin's relationship with Ardashir, and is one of them the creator, one of them is the creation. Like, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm fascinated by the character of Ardashir, because I feel like there's some really interesting storytelling that lies within his character arc.
Forgive me, Administrator. I will continue to oppose you, and those you care for, they become my targets.
Okay, and now that's markedly different than anything he had said up until this point. I think this actually, while he uses the word continue, I think there is a shift here. And I think that also based on what he said moments ago about an inability for us to meet on some sort of common ground.
However, please, do believe that every action I take is for the survival of civilization.
Is everything ready?
There is nothing to prepare. Leash your subjects. Killing is not our objective. Disabling the Shiranite Dam will accomplish our mission.
That's really interesting, right? That killing specifically is not their objective. I'm very intrigued by his motivations. I'm far less intrigued by Neferith, honestly. But I don't think they intend to portray Neferith as the same way they portray Ardashir. I think there's meant to be significant contrast between the two.
Of course. I can tear open the very large rift at any moment.
I will see it done quickly. It pains me to witness that expression on the Endman's face again.
That, for me, is super interesting. I think at a previous point in time, this is my personal theory, I like my little pet theories, Ardashir and Endman were close in some capacity. And united in their goals. And may still be united to some degree, united in their end state, if not the means, if that makes sense. That's beautiful. Hi, Mifu. Mifu says, how are things going, Emman? What about Tangtang? She alright? She's fine, but Ron Yi, and I don't know that she's fine. I don't know that was the correct thing to say, Emman, but Ron Yi refuses to back down. We had no choice but to Ron Yi. It's an end that he deserves. But tons of things had happened. Tangtang's probably a real mess right now. Ronnie left behind plenty of loyalists. They won't give up that easy. I don't know if the little kitty could handle them. I can't just swing by the stockade since I'm a Wuling watchguard. Edmund, please help keep an eye on the kitty if you've got time. Yeah, you know what? It was, unfortunately, tragically, it was the end that Ronnie deserved. Because he earned that end. Even if it seems like an injustice or it seems important. Or, unfortunate. Yeah, I will keep an eye on Tangtang. Yeah, I mean, this is true, but the fact is we're committed to helping Tangtang, so we can say this to Mifu in, you know, in full, you know, and mean it, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'll swing by the stockade in a couple days, check on her. Mifu says, thanks a mil. Okay, I think this is, yeah, okay. People sometimes mistakenly refer to this as the end of 1.1 because these things come up. We get to expand our capabilities here. We can now do some things that we couldn't do prior to this point in the story in terms of, like, mining.
All hands, stay alert for orders.
Ember, I'm talking. In terms of mining, what's it called, cuprium or whatever, and expanding all of this business. Yes. Yep. No, I got it. Cool. Yep. Hydromite. So these new technologies and stuff are accessible to us now that we can unlock all this. So, and of course now the map, because previously this map just plain wasn't like really explorable because we needed to advance through the story to unlock the whole map and everything. Now we can explore through this whole map. We can do the side events. We can mine the nodes, which, like, there's one down there, and then I don't even think that's the big one. Where's the big one? I think this is, like, 2 things, right? Yeah, that's 2. Oh, there's the big one right there. Right, so we can start mining this, what's it called? Cuprium? Cuprium. Cuprium? 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 Whatever it's called. So now there's a lot more we can do, which is also helpful for me. I can continue to advance this count a little bit more when I'm not playing, which over the next couple days I want to finish the playthrough portion of 1.1, but then up until I get around to recording during 1.2, like, I can continue to advance. We need to replace Ember here as much as I like her, and I do, with Poggers probably. But yeah, this is one of what we just played through is, like, to date, my favorite hour and a half in this game. Genuinely is. And I hope, as much as I ruin it by yapping and my mediocre gameplay, I hope that if someone actually watches this entire video, that they enjoyed this hour and a half too, because it's actually really good. When we come back next time, we're going to continue, because that's not actually the end of 1.1. There's still an entire story arc left to go. And I'd like to point out, and we'll discuss this more as we play through it later, this upcoming story arc is something that would be completely missing. Oh, we get, like, soundtrack. That's amazing. And a perfect way to end the video. Guild Wars 2 and probably plenty of other games would stop right here. The big bad is defeated. Tangtang needs to clean things up. And then when we come back next time, Tangtang will have cleaned things up. They would glaze over everything else that we're going to play through in the next 1 to 2 videos. And I am so glad that Endfield doesn't. I know, folks, there were a lot of folks, apparently, who thought that the story was weak in 1.0. I think a lot of them were coming from the original Arknights game. I didn't think it was that bad, but it is stronger in 1.1. And while what we just played through is a great example of that, the fact that this story continues for a whole nother story arc is also a great example of that. So I am looking forward to playing through that too, because there's a lot more good stuff left to come. But for today, we're going to wrap it up here. By the way, from this view, those wheels are absolutely turning the wrong direction. Not going to back down on that. I'll die on that hill. These wheels are turning the wrong way. Okay. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed a portion of the story that I really like. And I look forward to when we come back and we continue to move through 1.1. Thank you, and you have a good one.